One. Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody. It is Wednesday
Woo-hoo!
night, January 21st. Been a crazy night of college hoops tonight, and it is time for our Under the Radar show. I'm your host, Chad Sherwood. Got David Griggs over there, over there, Rocco Miller, and we got something going on below me.
Stalik is having a rough night.
As a Xavier fan, good
Yes.
news is we're not going to talk about what happened in Creighton tonight because
Uh,
he has had a
yeah.
rough night.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll actually get him back for the actual show too, as opposed to what we just saw. But this is our under the radar show, and Greg, can you tell me what it means to be under the radar?
The quickest definition is that it is the 22 regular one bid leagues, although we've upped that to 23. There's no rule that says that these conferences can't get more than one team. We're going to talk about a few teams and a few leagues that might be in a position to get more than one, depending on how things play out. But in a sense, we're talking about the one bid leagues.
We are, but what we have for this year, because of the weakness of the conference, the American Conference was relegated to this show from our Monday night show. So we've added the 23rd conference in the American, and we've got one other qualifier. Uh, any individual team that's in the top 25 of either of the major polls, the AP or the coaches poll, we do not count as being under the radar. We deal with that team on Monday night.
Yep.
And
If
for the
you're in the,
first time in over 2 years, we have somebody. Yes, congrats to Miami, Ohio. We will not be talking about their thrilling win last night, although I guess we can because we could talk about Kent State, right? So in
yeah,
that
we can
regard,
talk about it.
but Miami, Ohio, not technically under the radar for tonight's purposes, at least. We do go through the conferences in alphabetical order. Uh, Other than a feature conference that we started the show with, and I try to pick a feature conference, which I do at the very last minute with an interesting storyline, something like that going on, something we haven't featured yet. And I found a conference, Greg, tonight that I don't know if we go back through the history of Under the Radar, we've ever had this conference as our feature conference. And I'm not talking about the American either. Uh,
Huh.
and the reason I'm say that is because, well, alphabetically, they are the first conference. But I tell you, when you got five teams with one loss out of a nine-team conference, I think you deserve to be the feature conference, don't you?
Yeah, there's definitely a cliff between fifth and sixth right now.
Which is way down there in the standings, though, in a
Yeah,
nine-team conference.
yeah. So I mean, that's the thing. More than half the teams are tied for first place, and we're a quarter of a way through conference play. About Vermont, of course, is the team that we've kind of had our mind on. And they had a rough week. They sweat out Maine, and Maine, in case you're wondering, was good last year, not good this year, and then lose to Albany, and they're not going to run away from the league. I mean, I've given them. I think they can win the league, but they've had to sweat too much to suit me. And a lot of the teams they've played are not the better teams in the league.
Yeah, and I'll go to Salika here because I know you want to talk about the team that is by half a game actually in first place. How about NJIT?
The original team of the people.
Yep.
So, by virtue of a half a game, they are in first place for the time being, getting the 9 point win at UMass Lowell along with the home win against Bryant. Will put the Highlanders up ahead. But you
Yeah,
also go back to Vermont story. Let's not forget, this is a team that nearly lost to winless Binghamton in conference play. That's how much they've been doing a coal walk so far in conference play.
yeah, Rocco.
This league is remarkably. Look at the net. One, two, three, four, five, seven out of the nine teams outside the top 300. The league is normally not this weak, and we're going to go to Rocco. I just cut him off, but I just was making that observation.
Yeah,
Wow.
Rocco. From what he just said here, we could be out. I mean, you got to say this conference champion. He, no matter who it is probably on their way to Dayton for the first four. But I think we're set up for a hell of a rest of the season here, are we not?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's good that they're competitive with each other. I think when majority of these teams step outside of conference, it's pretty ugly, which leads to those overall numbers for the season, with six of the nine being in the 300s and Albany barely escaping that with the win over Vermont on Sunday. They're now 295, but we're stuck in the 300s, I think, all the way until that win. Albany on that note is playing the best defense in conference games, so I've got my eye on the Great Danes from that point of view. They also do a great job creating second chances in league games with a top 50 offensive rebounding rate right now over the last month. But I think UMBC has been the team I've liked. Just really their frenetic pace of play has slowed down a little bit this year, but they're taking better shots. In league games right now, they're over 40% from three. That probably won't stay consistent throughout the rest of the year. But that definitely gives them a dimension that nobody else has. Nobody coming near that type of shooting in this conference.
Yeah, like I said, I think we're set up for a great battle here. This is one of those conferences where you should suddenly take a look at what's going to be going on this next week here, beginning Thursday night. You got two first place battles, NJIT at UMBC and Vermont at Lowell. And then don't forget Albany with that road trip to Maine. This is going to be really fun the rest of the way. Vermont's going to be at Bryant this weekend. Lowell's at UMBC. Rare that we have it under the radar conference where we literally say circle every game. But
Yeah.
I think that's what we're doing.
Right.
Yeah, Bryant's 2 losses behind the leaders, but that's not going to make them any less dangerous when they're hosting Vermont Saturday.
They just beat UMBC, who Rocco just sang the praises of. Exactly.
I also should point out that TJ Long's missed the last two Vermont games.
Right.
When and if he gets back, they do have the deepest, best team, and if they find a way to get the 1 seed, it's going to be really hard to go to Burlington and win in the postseason tournament. So just keep your eye on TJ's status.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, though. This conference tournament does play it on campus sites. So getting that 1 seed, even getting that 2 seed, really important if you can't get the 1.
Yeah.
But I
Which
would
makes
also remind you the last time UMBC had a buzzer beater
Yes.
to beat Vermont in the conference title game, they beat some other team by 20 in their NCAA tournament game that followed.
Yeah.
Sure did.
Absolutely. So don't say you can go to Vermont and win and have good things happen after that.
Yeah.
But let's you know what? They're new to the show. The American, featuring them again, and they've got a bunch of games going on as we record this. In fact, including a close one between Memphis and Tulsa. But well,
Yeah, I got that one on.
actually, Rocco, if Memphis finds a way to win this game, and you know that we've got a ways to go here still in this game, I think we're suddenly paying attention, a lot more attention to them in this conference if they'd suddenly be here 5-1.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, and Aaron Bradshaw made his return tonight. I think that's been a big problem for Memphis. Obviously, the 7-1 monster makes a sizable difference. No pun intended there. But I think, yeah, I mean, the way that they can defend is different. They've been defending pretty well in league games. Obviously, they didn't perform as well in their, and give Penny credit every year for just an amazing national schedule that he's willing to play. Obviously, it didn't pan out this year. They still have a road trip to Utah State in about 3 weeks. Valentine's Day special. Sadly for us, I know Memphis is typically not under the radar, but they are for this one week at least, and that will have to stay under the radar of that game because Memphis not in any position to be in at large. But it makes the conference race pretty exciting. Florida Atlantic, of course, beat Memphis, so you give them the tiebreaker. Another win tonight. Avenging their only loss to Tulane, getting the revenge tonight over the Green Wave. And obviously, the way Tulsa has been able to max out and perform, they had that 2-game losing streak, but really bounced back last night in a very terrific, or tonight they're playing actually against Memphis.
Yeah, they got that Memphis game. Yep.
Yeah. So tight one down the stretch. I got them mixed up with somebody else, but Tulsa will be a factor. I think they've shown that. Wichita State too. Like a lot of people had them sworn off for dead. They rally in an amazing fashion, down 15 in the second half to win at South Florida Sunday.
Yeah.
And bounce back tonight and dominate ECU. So Wichita's not dead either.
Yeah, I want to say that this league has the feel of a league that's sort of eating itself, which if an under the radar league is doing that, or a league that did not perform out of conference is doing that, it probably means you're killing off your chances of getting inside the bubble. But when I look at this, with the exception of maybe Tulsa, maybe South Florida, and I'm talking winning out between now and the championship game, I don't think that this conference is going to be near the bubble. I'm thinking 12 or 13 line. But having said that, there's a lot of teams in this league that have underperformed a little bit out of conference and are capable of playing at a high level. And whoever it is that wins it, whether it's FAU or Memphis, who's coming on strong now and who's been tested out of conference, or Tulsa, who's really good, or South Florida, who's talented but perhaps underperforming, or even Wichita or Tulane or even North Texas. I think that I think that this team might be a tough. Whoever comes out of this conference is going to be a really tough round of 64 game for someone.
Especially if we talk
absolutely.
about a potential 13 seed. We had this conference on the 13 line at our bracket rundown on
Yeah,
Sunday, not even on the 12 line. Uh,
right.
a couple upcoming games here, key coming into this weekend, especially weather permitting, although I don't think the weather will affect either of these. Salika Memphis at Wichita State, North Texas at Tulsa. That's actually next Wednesday, North Texas, Tulsa.
Yeah, that'll also be like the second road game in a row for Memphis following tonight's game against Tulsa. But if you also want to talk about further muddying the waters in this conference, FAU still has to go to Memphis. And oh, by the way, South Florida and Memphis still have two games in February that could further murky the standings.
Yeah, FAU at South Florida, another good game this weekend.
And
Keep an eye
at
on that
Memphis
one.
next Thursday. Yeah, so this FAU's next two road games are South Florida and Memphis.
Really is the Bermuda Triangle right there between those three teams.
Yeah, with Tulsa and South. Yeah, Tulsa's lurking for sure. But yes, I agree.
Over in the A Sun, uh,
How about this?
how about those Royals from Queens? Now, with the win over North Alabama tonight, now North Alabama is not very good, but here they are sitting at 7-0, uh, coming off a big week where they swept the road trip to Gulf Coast and Stetson. And we talked about it last week how impressive it would be if they could pull that off, and they did.
Yeah, and
Greg's okay. I didn't ask you the one. Go ahead.
yeah, no, I mean, I was kind of surprised. I mean, it was fun to see them get out to the start that they got out to, and I figured, well, they're going to stumble on the road, and they haven't. I still think it's a three-horse race. I think, but Queens is one of the three horses. It's them, P, and I still think Lipscomb, while
Yeah.
they've been disappointing at times, they've still, I think, overall looked as impressive, or if not more impressive than anyone else in the league. But if you're asking me what the story of the conference is, it's Queens. They might be one of the bigger under the radar stories, period. A recent transitional team that's 7-0, and they're winning away from home, at home. They won their first seven.
Yeah. Now Lipscomb just beat Austin P. Knocked Austin P. out of that first
Yeah,
place tie. So I think you definitely don't want to say Lipscomb is underperforming at the moment. I think they're right there. Um,
right.
but quick
And
look
I
up
would
ahead
also
for
point, I was going to say, I would also point out, despite a couple recent losses, West Georgia had also been somewhat of a noisemaker to start conference play, but with the back-to-back losses, they're now down to 3-3.
Hmm.
I was also going to say, yeah, Central Arkansas has been better than expected. They both their losses are in overtime, and they've handled everybody else, albeit all home wins. But their two road games, they lose heartbreakers in overtime. I think they've just been performing at a much higher level than people expected, creeping into the top 200 now of all the power numbers.
yeah, and they could probably get those road wins this week at West Georgia, at North Alabama.
And
Uh,
then they go to Queens. Yeah.
the game of Queens may be a different story, but they win a couple of winnable games here ahead. Not so that they're going to win
Hmm.
them, but winnable. Uh, Coming up this week, big story, of course, Queens at West Georgia, hosting Central Arkansas. That big one next Wednesday that we just mentioned. Uh, Also, want to look at Austin P. They're going to be hosting Gulf Coast and Stetson, while Lipscomb will be hosting Gulf Coast and Stetson.
Yeah.
Travel partners.
Yeah.
Yep. But jumping over to the Big Sky Conference, where
Oh,
Stalika, Portland State still getting it done, including a nice win last Thursday night over Northern Colorado, who has completely imploded since we got to conference
oh
play.
my
But
God, what the hell has happened to them?
Yeah, I was going to say, Portland State's also had to get the pair of wins because Montana State is right on their heels with the win against the Northern Colorado team that you just mentioned, and also beating in-state rival Montana. That's also going to be another feather in the cap for the Bobcats, who are only a half game behind the Vikings.
This is Columbia-ish nest from last year, what Northern Colorado is doing. Fantastic out of conference and miserable in conference.
They have not recovered from that win at Colorado. It just
I
hasn't.
guess not.
And I don't think they've hired Jim Engels, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Rocco, I mean, I guess the other story from this conference this past week was Idaho State. We've got to give them a little bit of props for winning the first half of the
Woo-hoo!
King
Yeah.
Spud Trophy battle
The
over
Kings.
over in-state rival Idaho, one of our favorite rivalries we found. But any other thoughts on the league?
Yeah, that was a fun celebration from
Yeah.
the Bengals. Yeah, I think quick shout out to Sacramento State. Mike Bibby gets his first couple of wins against that Northern Colorado team, in fact, and the Northern Arizona win. They hadn't broken through yet under him. We talked a lot about that in the preseason, how hard it was going to be for him to win in the mountains, and still hasn't proved that, but it's a step in the right direction. Prophet Johnson, a former Bellevue Community College player from back from where I'm from. Went for 30 and 29 in those two wins. So shout out to the Hornets. But then I think big picture, Montana, both the Montana schools to me, in addition to of course Portland State, have looked really formidable. Both those offense are executing at a high level. Montana State more from the perimeter, Montana from the interior, and so I do have my eye on them long term.
Yeah, I still cannot figure out what happened back on December 17th with this Montana team losing that game to Montana Tech, but
Yeah.
We'll see if it hurts their
still a
seed.
heads.
They probably had a finals hangover.
Upcoming this week in the
Montana Tech
conference.
has a proud tradition, Chad. I can tell you that. They've won national championships there.
Are they? No, that's Colorado
NAIA.
School of Mines.
NAIA.
No, NAIA.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're not the ore diggers. Okay.
Yeah.
No, just Montana Tech.
Yeah.
Portland State on their way this week for a couple of road games at Eastern Washington and a tough test at Idaho, so keep an eye on those games.
Yeah.
Also, Idaho State at Montana State could be a good one too on Thursday night. So a couple good games on the horizon here.
It's a really balanced league. I'm enjoying this season because it's carnage every week.
Yeah, I think other than Northern Arizona, everyone has shown life at some point or
Yeah.
another here.
And I think
Right.
Weber State's also got some opportunities because Montana and Montana State, they go on the road. So
You-
they get one or two of those wins.
You know what I miss? Pluto TV and how they used to show the Flash.
We're buzzing Pluto TV. Thank God they're gone. Big South Conference time, and well, I think we start with Winthrop, who started Rocco last week, dominated win over High Point, and then somehow found a way to win two more games since then. But they were not nearly the way they played against High Point.
Well, I thought the High Point matchup was really unique. Logan Duncombe is projected player of the year according to the Pomeroy data here. The big man has been just a force, and High Point with their new coach Flynn Clayman taking over for Alan Huss. They've been much more like trap the guards type of defense, and that basically was very much exposed in the matchup where Winthrop beat them. Duncombe just got anything and everything he wanted in his 28 points in that game. And since then, Winthrop's had to go into some different types of matchups as the rest of the league is actually putting all their focus defensively on Duncombe. And tonight was a heck of a war. And buried out by Winthrop basically hit a three. Cluett hit a three with 2 seconds
Yes.
left to pull them out of the ashes. And now they have the tiebreaker for first. But Radford would have been in first if they held on.
Yeah, and this was a good game, and both teams. I mean, these were two of the better teams in the conference, and this was just a really good game tonight. Really good under the radar game, and with the stakes of the conference standings and how important that is. But it's
Yeah.
I still think that Winthrop. I thought High Point was going to run away from this, and I know as Rocco alluded to, they're certainly the most talent and they spent the most money. But Winthrop has shown that they can. I think they can keep pace with them.
Yeah,
I'm
let's-
not impressed with Presby. I know they're 4-2, and I know they're up there in the standings, but they just don't excite me the way Radford, Winthrop, and High Point do.
Yeah, let's not forget Dalen Berry's been out the last 3 games, and so Winthrop beat High Point without Barry, and they've won these last two without him as well. We'll see
Yeah.
how that comes along. Winthrop's at Presby on Saturday.
I think they
Winthrop,
win that one.
a couple good ones. Winthrop is at Presby and High Point is at Radford on Saturday. So two games worth circling this conference in a pretty light slate. Possibly for these games, I would throw out there with the weather forecast that we're getting for this weekend.
There's a couple already
There's a bit of, yeah.
on the list here. Yeah, with the Longwood game being moved up. That was moved to noon Eastern, but still on Saturday.
Okay. Yep. Follow Rocco on X, by the way. He has all the updates on this schedule for this weekend.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah, and a new update will be up by the time you watch this show. So
Yeah, and Rocco approving all of the time changes.
we need a 7 a.m. game, Griggs.
Yeah.
We got to get somebody to play at 7.
I would love to play at 7. I would love it. I don't think the fans would show up, but let's
well,
play
it
at
could
7
be
a.m.
at 2
We
a.m.
will get a true champion.
Yeah.
Champion.
Let's head out to the Big West here, where the story. We were starting to highlight this Hawaii story. Hawaii goes to to Santa Barbara this past week and loses a game, and now this conference is honestly, maybe this could have been our future conference as well. Maybe it'll be next week, because look how jammed up this entire thing is now suddenly.
Yeah, the
Great,
top
yeah.
6 teams separated by just one game, and there's a lot of good teams in this conference. I think that it's not that surprising. Hawaii, Irvine, UC San Diego in particular are really good, but so's UC Santa Barbara, so's UC Davis, and it's hard to go on the road and win in this conference. And not to bring up an old wound, but that's why UC Irvine should have been selected last year. It's hard to win on the road in this league.
Thank you.
Not exactly taking advantage of a Hawaii's misfortune. So Irvine, they lose the divine matchup with UC Davis, and now a first place tie.
Rocco, I think the other surprising thing I saw this week was Long Beach with a almost
The
surprising
divine.
2-0 week. Beats Riverside, and then goes to Northridge and picks up the win. And the Beach has a little life this year, maybe.
Wait,
Yeah,
wait a
there's
minute. Wait a minute. Has that? I knew about the Riverside, the Divine Cup. That's a new one.
I like that. Yeah, well, Long Beach has a couple of things. One, their defense is improving each game, which has been encouraging to see. And honestly, I expected more of that last year. Chris Acker is in his second year, but he was a long-time San Diego State assistant. So what do you think of when you think of Aztec basketball? You think defense. And they have a long way to go, but they have started to play a little bit better D, at least from an efficiency standpoint. That win at CSUN's very impressive. 3 straight wins now overall, and they have a great freshman. Gavin Sykes probably is getting. There's a lot of good freshmen in the league, so I don't know for sure that he's a lock to be Big West Freshman of the Year. Fullerton's got a great one as well, but he's been money. In that game against CSUN, he went for 34, knocking down 15 of 16 from the line to put the Matadors away. So there's just a lot of cool stories like that at Beach and Fullerton. I'll just also comment real quick, because I will be covering the game tomorrow between UC San Diego at UC Davis, making my return to Davis. Looking forward to that. And yeah, 2 of the teams right in the mix. I think the other story on top of that from the big picture is next year you have Hawaii going to the Mountain West.
Mountain
You have
West.
UC Davis going to Mountain West. UC San Diego in 2 years going to the WCC. And obviously Santa Barbara and Irvine are very invested. And so there's a lot of investments across this conference, and the quality of basketball is been stepped up across the board. And I think that's what's made it such a good league.
I think California Baptist is coming in here to the Big West. I don't know if it's
Yeah, and
next
so
year or the
is
year after. Yeah.
So is Utah Valley. Yeah,
Yeah.
both next year. Yep.
Yeah.
So again, two more really good basketball programs that are invested.
You really, we'll get to the WAC. They are the 2 teams we've been speaking about all season in the WAC. They're both going to be on their way over here next year. There's the rest of the upcoming games. In addition to the one that Rocco is covering, we've got Irvine at San Diego on Saturday, and Salika
CSUN at Hawaii.
CSUN at Hawaii, and Salika. We got any more rivalry games you want to make up for us?
It's the only Rivervine Cup of the year tomorrow night. Gotta
Rivervine
circle that
Cup.
one.
You
All
better
right.
celebrate.
Yeah.
Got it. And Riverside gets to host it, so we actually might have a game.
There
Yeah.
we go. The Rivervine Cup. Sleek, let me stick with you over in the CAA, where UNC Wilmington now sitting at 6-0 in conference after the win over Campbell. Maybe the other story, though, was Hofstra with an 0-2 week.
Yeah, those two losses
Oh.
by the Pride have basically given UNC Wilmington a 2-game cushion because now Hofstra is also tied with Elon and Charleston.
And speak about Charleston, they also go 0-2 this week, losing Towson and double overtime loss to Stony Brook, Riggs.
Yeah. So a lot of the losses, the fact that Hofstra lost both of them really surprised me. I wasn't expecting Charleston to lose both, but I mean, they had been playing a lot better. So, I guess it just goes to show you that this is kind of a deeper league than what we're used to seeing. But Hofstra losing to Stony Brook just sort of floored me.
Yeah, Stony Brook actually got a pair of surprising
Big wins.
wins against
Yeah.
Hofstra and Charleston.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So a real good week for them. And how about Wilmington? I thought their record was basically put together on the pastry cart, and while it was good, I wasn't that impressed with them. But it's hard to not be impressed. 2 games out in front of everybody else, 15-2 against D1, climbing the web, climbing the net. I mean, I still think that their out of conference schedule was so bad it was a work of art. But wow.
Yeah, they also went to Stony Brook the week before and were down in a major hole.
Yeah.
And they opened the second half on a 31-10 run to get out of the hole, and they ultimately won by 4 points. They were down by 20 plus to Stony Brook. They could have been just as battered and bruised, but kudos to them for winning that game.
Some upcoming game notes. Wilmington with a pair of road tests at William and Mary at Hampton, Hofstra at Bill and Mary, Elon at Charleston Saturday. Really circle that Elon Charleston game. That's a fascinating one for me.
Also circle Towson at Elon because Towson did rebound with a win against, I think it was Hofstra, but Elon also going to be a bit of a tough one for the Tigers.
Just a quick note here. Back when we talked about the American earlier, we talked about that close game between Tulsa and Memphis.
It is no longer close.
The game has gone final, and Memphis did not score again since we recorded that segment. Ended up being an 83-66 Tulsa win. So, wow! It just that game got ugly after we talked. After we
It got
hyped up Memphis.
incredibly ugly. Yes.
Tulsa's net should be moving in the correct direction, and
Memphis should not be.
A likely 12 seed if Tulsa can win the American Conference tournament.
Rocco, over in CUSA, how about the Liberty Flames? Nice win tonight at Western Kentucky. They got everything Western Kentucky could throw at them, and WKU kept fighting back in this game. But the Flames found a way, and here they are 8-0 in league play.
Yeah, they're freaking tough, man. Caden Matheny had the best game on the night tonight with 6 assists and 19 points, 5 rebounds. Obviously, Zach Cleveland gets all the attention, but WKU held him to 3 points tonight. And so he became more of a passer and a screener and did his thing on defense with a couple of blocks and steals. And then Brett Decker, I think he's one of the best sophomores anywhere in the country. He's just lights out, hits another 4 threes tonight. Matheny had 5 threes, Porter 3 threes. And so you look at Liberty's team total, they hit 17 threes. And they still almost lost. So it's they didn't do great at some of the other areas on the floor, including getting stops. But that they have so many ways they can beat you, and that's why they're one of the best and under the radar.
And there were also some fireworks in the final minute of that game with a hard foul against Liberty, but they did
I don't
not,
think it was
flame out.
dirty. It was incredibly clumsy, and it was a very hard foul that actually, at that point, it looked like Liberty was in the driver's seat, but that ended up giving Western Kentucky 2 free throws on the ball. WKU hit what appeared to be a game-tying 3, but it was waved off because of an illegal screen. But yeah, a wild finish to a pretty wild game, really.
The other team that I think had a real nice week was Sam Houston. Picked up 3 wins, including 2 road wins. A win at Jacksonville State and a win at FIU over the weekend, which is not an easy place to win, given all the water they got on the court there. But the Sam Houston team is a team that back at the beginning of this heading into conference play, they had the best net in the conference. And we're trying to figure it out why and why the metrics like them so much. And maybe they're starting to show that a little bit here with this winning streak they're on. So it's a team I'm going to keep an eye on as we head into the second half of conference play here. Upcoming this week, though, Liberty hosting Delaware. That's their only game in the next 7 days. Sam Houston will be hosting Western Kentucky in an interesting one on Saturday.
Yeah. That'll be a fun
Missouri,
game to watch. I don't know if that has any real stakes to it, but it'll be a fun game to watch.
Middle at Jacksonville
Missouri,
State is a good one. Yeah.
and Missouri State also makes their maiden voyage down to I-10 to take on New Mexico State and UTEP.
There you go. Salika, over in the Horizon League,
Oh my!
where we
good.
saw one of the upsets of the season, maybe the upsets of the past several years, happened just tonight when Oakland
Well,
went to the game with the 113 net, with the 110 net, loses a home game to 326 net IU Indy.
Well, to lay out the complete picture on Oakland, you first have to go back to Sunday. They went on the road against a Green Bay team that had suddenly gotten white hot under Doug Gottlieb. Oakland thrashes the Phoenix by 25 points, and lo and behold, we have I think by my count, a 47-point differential where I started paying attention in the second half because IU Indy had suddenly gone up 12, and then in a heartbeat, they just went on a 11-1 run to basically choke out the Golden Grizzlies.
And Rocco, this conference is still wide open because while that's going on tonight, Wright State loses at home to Cleveland State. So top two teams in the conference both fall at home tonight to bottom feeders.
Yeah, very interesting. You know, Wright State tonight got their big man back. He had been out since the end of December. And it's just interesting how sometimes, although that's going to help Wright State long term, just getting acclimated to playing with different lineup combinations and so forth from their perspective threw a little bit of a wrench in some of the execution and some of the defensive communication. And on the other side, you know, Cleveland State's been chomping at the bit to try to make a move. You know, obviously, Coach Summers is brand new, came over from Missouri, trying to build a program or keep it going. Like the last couple of coaches have been awesome there, but got a hell of a game from Nensa, 31 points tonight and 10 rebounds and 5 assists. Probably well on his way to Horizon Player of the Week without knowing what anybody else did.
Absolutely. Coming up this week, well, let's take a look at it. Wright State, they're going to be hosting NKU, Oakland at Detroit and at Fort Wayne, and suddenly Fort Wayne is right there in the mix for everything, especially if they can get this win this weekend, next week over Oakland.
And I should also add, Northern Kentucky failed to take advantage of the chaos because while they did beat Detroit and Mercy, they also lost in overtime to Robert Morris. So now that puts them 2 games behind Wright State in the loss column.
Yeah, but they can make up. They can get a game closer. That's sort of a really pivotal game right there, in addition to being a rivalry game. So
Griggs, Yale has finally started. They had that one little slip up against Harvard, but I think they rebounded
yeah,
well. A pair of home wins over Cornell and Columbia this week, and sitting
yeah.
here now, technically tied with Harvard and Dartmouth. I guess they technically lose that tiebreaker to Harvard, but I think they're starting to play like the team we thought they were.
Yeah, and they had played like the team we thought they were at other various times, but I mean, I was again, it was one of those head scratching results to where it was just sort of hard to figure out. But they've blown through their last 2 opponents like you would kind of expect, including a Columbia team that is on the verge of repeating what they did last year.
Yeah, Columbia falling apart. Rocco, is it time to start paying a little attention to Harvard, though? They beat Yale earlier, and they
Yeah.
get the 2-0 week against Penn and Princeton this week.
They've really stepped it up, playing a lot more through Chandler Piggy on the interior. I think earlier in the non-conference when they struggled, it was a little too dependent on Robert Hinton, the sensational sophomore. And it's that inside-outside approach has really got their numbers up. They're obviously playing very well. The big result I thought was the 25-point win a couple of weeks ago over Columbia. But yeah, right there in the mix now, and really just steady across the board and hanging in these games instead of. It seems like not only earlier this year but previous years, Harvard gets in these deep holes and they can never come back. Now, a lot of times they're drawing first blood and finding a way to stay in the fight.
Yeah, and coming up this week, we've got Yale is at Penn, Cornell is at Harvard, Columbia at Dartmouth, Brown at Princeton. That's our schedule here. Hopefully, we get these games in on Saturday. That the
Yeah.
timing the storm, hopefully they should be able to. But Rock, let me stick with you over the Metro Atlantic, where we suddenly have a heck of a battle going on between the Peacocks and Merrimack here.
Wow.
Yeah, the Peacocks got the best of Merrimack when they faced head to head.
Right.
It's been fascinating. But they're both playing tremendous defense, as is Marist and Mount St. Mary's, of course, of late. But it's interesting. I can't believe St. Peter's, first of all, because they were expected to not be much in the preseason. They didn't look like much in the D1 games they played. I think they were 2-6 in non-league D1 competition games. They had three non-D1 wins, but they get into this league, and it's just the way Bashir Mason coaches, comes from that, that Wagner tree, and deep ties to, of course, Dan Hurley, and they just play so hard, and that's why they're so hard to predict too, because if it's a team that's bought in to playing that hard for 40 minutes, much like Seton Hall on the bigger level, you can get some great results if you have the right kind of kids. But man, once those guys don't feel like working that hard, or something goes sideways, they can fall all the way to the bottom, as we saw last year. And so, man, this is what it can look like when everybody's bought in. And kudos to the Peacocks, surprising everybody, picked 10th in the league. On the flip side, Merrimack just really getting better and better under Joe Gallo. This is a younger team, but they bought into those zone principles. He went out and recruited some better shooting. It was fun to see them in person as well a couple of weeks ago. I think Merrimack's got some real staying power, and they kind of have the perfect, slow tempo zone defense to go out and win a conference tournament, and even if they have to play 4 days in a row.
Yeah, and here we go. I mean, the biggest wins this week, St. Peter's with the road win at Quinnipiac, but Merrimack, a very
Crazy.
impressive road win at Marist. So
Yes.
we'll see. I'm not certain when they play again. Let's just take a quick look there. St. Peter's, Merrimack. I'm sorry, that's coming up here
Yeah,
this
that's Saturday.
weekend. That is, uh,
Yeah, that's
there it is,
Saturday.
Saturday, St. Peter's at Merrimack.
Hmm.
That
And
is the
Rubber
game
match.
circle. Yep.
also keep in mind Quinnipiac had the brutal leak with losses against
Yeah.
St. Peter's at home and
And
Merrimack, and now they got a rebound at Mount St. Mary's and at Marist, who is also tied for third with the Bobcats.
but yeah,
And,
but
and
that's
they
sort of a
barely beat
big,
Manhattan.
yeah. It's hard to keep pace with teams that you're losing to.
One of the games circle here Saturday. It's one of the great under the radar rivalries, Manhattan Iona.
Yeah, it really
Yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
I hope the temperature. It doesn't have the storyline, at least where the teams are in the standings, that it has it times in the past. But hopefully, the temperature of that game's still pretty high. God, that one's fun.
Too bad we never got to see Rick Pitino go up against Steve Masiello in that rivalry.
Yeah.
Stalika, that number one team there, Miami, Ohio. They're not under the radar. We could just kind of cross them off. They don't count, right? But I
Don't tell that to Kent State, though, because the Golden Flashes had a golden opportunity where they went up by four with under a minute to go, but unfortunately, they were not able to hold off the Red Hawks for their final two possessions of regulation. And from what I've read, that was, I think, Kent State's 11th loss in a row at home against top 25 teams, but that was a streak that I thought was going to be in mortal peril when I saw the score at the time.
Yeah, one of the things about this conference is both Kent State and Buffalo in the last week had a lead over a top 25 team by two possessions with less than a minute to go, and neither one of them could beat the ranked team.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Buffalo also had a major hangover following that game because they got
Yeah.
blown out at home against Akron.
Well, how about
Did,
Akron? And
yeah,
is
Fritz Egg
Akron,
was out.
yeah, I know Akron played Miami, Ohio, and lost. They lost by three on the road. And I think that this Akron team might be as good as Miami and maybe better. They don't have the profile, obviously, or they don't have the bloated record. But if you look at the net and you look at some of the other metrics, they're not that far behind.
Yeah, Rocco, if we look at the predictive metrics, they say that Akron's a better team than Miami, Ohio.
They might be a better
Well,
team.
it's their style of play. I mean, their style of play yields to a lot of blowouts, and so much of those metrics are based on margin of victory. So Akron is accustomed to, getting large margins of victory. It doesn't mean they're better, in my opinion, because when you have to go toe to toe, that's just about scheme and matchups. And Akron has had their fair share of duds over the years, and obviously they got outclassed by Murray State in that type of game when they met somebody kind of their own weight in their own weight class, 115 to 100. But yeah, they'll put it on teams that can't keep up, that try to run with them, and it's just one of those deals like who's got the better athletes. And at this level, Akron typically does. And in the Buffalo win, Daniel Freitag, I think that's an important story for what happened in at the top of the league. In the overtime session against Miami, Ohio, Buffalo, they're on the verge of just a massive win for their program. And they were up 10 in the second half, obviously let that slip away and lose an overtime. Well, Daniel Freitag, their star transfer from Wisconsin, ends up with concussion symptoms on a collision in overtime and has to sit out the Akron game. And obviously, Buffalo didn't have the horses to compete without him. And I think Freitag will have to miss the UMass game coming up on Friday.
Yeah, that's one of the two Friday games. Akron at Ohio on Friday. Also, then Toledo at Akron Tuesday. If you want to talk about UMass, they got a tough road test against a non-under the radar team on Tuesday at Miami.
I
Griggs,
might have to inquire about going to that game just to see if there's still 7-year-old Culver's coupons. Although from what my brother told me, who's also a Miami grad, they should have actually offered 7-year-old coupons for Jimmy John's instead.
Griggs, MEAC time.
And
And
how about
those
this?
the Fighting Hawks of Maryland Eastern Shore getting more love this season than we've given them in any year past? They beat Coppin State and they're still undefeated.
Yeah, they've played half the teams in the conference and they haven't lost to any of them. I mean, as we said that this league looked like it was kind of upside down. Howard bouncing back a little bit with their last two wins, but Maryland Eastern Shore. Oh, yeah, I'm a believer. I'm not, but I'm going to say that I am.
Rocco, are you a believer that the Hawks get that first ever NCAA tournament bid for the program?
I have no idea, Chad. I haven't seen them play, honestly, but I've been encouraged by the results. I think it started on opening night, right? They took Georgia Tech to OT, and then
Yes.
they had the
Yeah, they
road.
did.
Then they had the road double OT win at Longwood, which is still pretty impressive for their level, their typical level. And just winning at Norfolk State last week, that was a huge statement for the MEAC. Norfolk State's been the best in class in this conference for quite a bit now. And to go in there and win, that tells me that UMES is in this thing to stay.
But I also
I'm with
think we
you.
have
What a
another
story.
potential. We also have another potential storyline, though. NC Central, who's only a game out of first place, they're in the bottom 25 of the net nationally. I wonder how often we've ever had a team go to the NCAA tournament be that close to the bottom of the net rankings.
Yeah, that's tough.
Could
Eastern
happen
Sh-
in the America East this year.
Yeah.
Eastern Shore, tough week here now. At South Carolina State, tough but winnable. At NC Central's already been postponed, I believe, as part of
Yes,
the.
both
so-
NC Central games are postponed.
Okay. We don't have the new wake updates for either one of those yet, so but we will get Eastern Shore at South Carolina State on Saturday, probably.
Probably. Maybe at 7 a.m.
We love those 7 a.m. games. Rocco, over in the Missouri Valley Conference, where as we record this, we've got a Northern Iowa trailing at Illinois State, actually. But I think the story was tonight was Murray State suffering their first conference loss to Drake.
Yeah, they couldn't stop Drake. And Murray State likes to get up and down. We just talked about them with how they blew out Akron, last month. And in this particular case, it went against them. Drake I mean, I'm pulling up the numbers now, but it was a lot of interior damage from Jalen Quinn. He goes for 34 points. And that was a obvious prescription-based game plan from the Bulldogs because he took 24 shot attempts and they just force-fed him all night long, and it worked. I mean, for him to go 14 for 24 from the interior, missed one three-point attempt. That was great. And then they had secondary help with Owen Larson going for 22. And Drake's just a team experimenting still. I think with Eric Henderson, he's a very good coach. He's proven, had all those great years at South Dakota State. This particular group that he brought with him, it's a collection of different parts. A couple guys like Larson came from the Jackrabbit program, but they're still trying to figure out the right formula. This win tonight really could springboard the Bulldogs, I think.
Yeah, they looked impressive, and it surprised me a little bit more than it probably did you, Rocco. I hadn't really had my eyes on Drake, and I knew it was a road game, and that it's never easy to win on the road. But this Murray State team, I thought might be top 40-ish, top 50-ish nationally. I just expected them to handle Drake, and Drake played a great game. And every time Murray would make a run at him, Drake would make some sort of adjustment or make a big play or do something defensively to keep control of it.
Yeah, and Murray now has to go to Northern Iowa, not easy. Host Illinois State on Wednesday. Two tough tests coming off of this one. Well,
Yeah.
Illinois State has to go to Belmont, by the way, hosting Illinois State and at Valpo. Belmont now only a game out of first place.
Yeah, I know the Puppet's looking forward to Wednesday because Belmont's going to be facing the Valpo swim team, right?
Oh my God, Valpo, that's proven to be a tough place to win. Like they're just 4-5, but they've taken the better teams in the conference to the wire on their floor, and the swim team gets way too much screen time.
Griggs, how about go over to the NEC then, where we had a bit of an upset on Monday night where LIU went to Lemoyne and suffered their first conference loss of the season. But meanwhile, Central Connecticut was in Mercyhurst losing as well.
Central Connecticut did not mess around when it came to losing at Mercyhurst. It was just a bludgeoning, and I just couldn't believe it.
I think they heard they were playing the Lakers and thought they were the LA Lakers the way they were
Yeah.
playing.
But I mean, two kind of surprising results. Long Island, Mercy. I mean, that one. I don't know. That one was shocking, but by comparison, it wasn't just that Mercyhurst beat Central Connecticut; it's that they blew them into the sun.
Yeah, we're in a position now where in terms of the regular season title, by the way, New Haven not eligible for the NEC tournament. Lemoyne and Mercyhurst, while not NCAA tournament eligible, will be in the NEC tournament unless they finish dead last. But they'd have to drop below Chicago State for that to happen, and not.
I would
losing.
also remind you, Lemoyne also gave Xavier a pretty good game in what should have been a blowout bye game at the beginning of the year, and now we're seeing one of the reasons why it wasn't.
Stonehill gets a chance to host the top two teams this week, hosting LIU and Central Connecticut.
Go Stars!
Meanwhile, Central Connecticut is also going to be hosting FDU, and Wagner's going to be at Long Island possibly on Sunday if that game gets played. But there may be about 10 feet of snow in Long Island at that time, so
Yeah.
we'll see.
And download NEC Front Row if you haven't already. It's a free app. It's awesome.
And follow Rocco to get all the game updates.
Yeah.
But Rocco, over in the OVC, where we have another conference with a big old log jam here with got five teams within a game of each other in the loss column.
Yeah, and that's all because the effort from SEMO last night to totally
What a game!
hammer.
Oh my God!
Oh my God.
It wasn't even as close as that final score of 16 points.
No, they were up by 28.
They were by
pretty
30 at one point, I think.
Right. Yeah, and just a great execution. There's not a lot to do in Cape Girardeau, Missouri, and so they've been known to get some good crowds. And UT Martin, you have to remember, I know that all these guys are from all over the world, so some of them might be 21, but they're still freshmen in college basketball, and they start three of them. They have two more that come off the bench. And their games are pretty unpredictable because of the amount of dependence they have from deep. They go 5 for 22 from deep. So if they have nights like that, they're really exposing themselves to losing to anybody in this league, let alone SEMO, who's 5-4. So it's not going not going to hurt too terribly bad for the Skyhawks. But if you're looking for consistency, and I think most people are when it comes to the OVC, because it's really hard to find.
There's none.
Well,
Oh,
Little Rock.
there is
I will
one.
give Little Rock.
Oh,
Little Rock's
okay.
been playing great. Little Rock's been playing great. Their one loss since December 16th is at home to Tennessee State, who is the other team.
Thank you.
That's been
That's
pretty.
my team this year. Go Tigers.
But they did have the slip up at EIU. So I like that Little Rock. First of all, they've got at least one of their injury prone guys back in the mix with Got Keck. He's a big time important player at 6'9", and so he's been back for about 3 weeks now. And they still only play 6 players. So it's a lot of Gat Keck, it's a lot of Lawson, it's a lot of Cameron Wallace, Braxton Bayless. But they're really figuring it out, and they're very well coached. So I'm not giving up on Little Rock, and the rest of the league probably respects them now. Tennessee State, kind of the other end of the coin with Nolan Smith being brand new, his first head coaching opportunity, making the most of it. They've been, besides that Eastern Illinois loss, they've been really, really consistent throughout the year. We know they won at UNLV. They've got the Tennessee Martin win already. So Tennessee State right now is in my bracket.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Yeah,
say
that's
that
one of the
schedule
better.
is-
Yeah, that's one of the bigger turnarounds in the league. Like Tennessee State's a great story this year.
This week they're
Yeah,
going to be at Evansville at Lindenwood and hosting Tennessee Tech, while Martin they're going to be hosting Little Rock in a big game on Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Weather-
gonna
weather
say,
permitting.
speaking of the Little Rockos, they're about to go onto a brutal stretch where they're playing 6 out of 8 on the road. So SEMO and Tennessee Martin, that's going to be a tough start.
Yeah, that is a
Yeah,
rough
hopefully
stretch here.
Yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
they can stay out of the winter storm on that trip.
Yeah, I would expect some postponements.
Stalik over in the Patriot League, where Navy took care of things. They beat Lehigh in double overtime, also beat Holy Cross tonight, and here they are at 6-1 in sole possession of first.
Yeah, they managed to stay a game ahead of American while American was holding serve on the road at Army and also at home against Colgate. But Colgate, another team that's been traditionally at the top of the Patriot of late, but because of the split, that's going to go ahead and give Navy sole possession of first place.
And by the way, if anybody out there still believes that it's a good idea to foul when up 3, go watch the end of tonight's BU Lafayette game in regulation, where Lafayette was up 3 with 4 seconds left and fouls BU. BU player hits the first free throw, misses the second, gets his own rebound, ties the game, and BU wins it in overtime. We need to stop this fouling up 3. It makes the games take forever to end, and I think you've got a better shot to defend a three-pointer than maybe to get that rebound sometimes. So I was frustrated. I
Yeah.
was especially frustrated watching the game,
It's
listening to the call and hearing the announcer say, "What a great move by fouling," and I'm slamming my head. And then I watched the moves after
backfired.
that.
I just love it when teams foul up
Backfired.
3 and it doesn't work. I mean, it just always brings a smile to my face.
My team fouled up 2, and that didn't work.
Oh boy.
Sorry, Rocco, you had a comment.
No, I agree. I think it should be a debate. It shouldn't be a prescriptive thing. And I get that the percentages are good to foul, but it doesn't mean it's the right answer. It's also about when to foul too. You don't want to foul outside of 5 seconds.
Right.
You probably don't want to wait until inside of 2 seconds with the continuation risk. The continuation risk, obviously, above the radar, but the St. Louis Stanford one is the biggest, most significant one of the season right now because it's got bubble implications.
Yeah.
Upcoming games this week. Well, huge one Saturday, Army Navy.
Yeah.
That's
Always a fun
really
one.
the one to circle here. American, they've got a couple road games at Holy Cross and at Loyola, by the way, this week. While Colgate hosting BU and Holy
And
Cross.
then Navy goes to the roof next Wednesday.
Yeah. Love the roof. Oh,
Griggs, let's jump over to the SoCon where we had another near upset tonight. East Tennessee State found a way to squeeze out a win at Chattanooga,
Yeah,
and an
and
actual
it was a-
upset with the Citadel Furman game.
yeah, that was a battle. East Tennessee State. If you want to like somebody, I know Rocco says you're looking for consistency. It may be them, but they've had to fight out some of those wins. I mean, it hasn't been they haven't been bulldozing everyone. So I think that East Tennessee State right now, the most impressive team in the conference as far as their overall performance. Mercer not that far behind, but the story of the league, and I don't even mean this as a backhanded, is I think it's Citadel improving to 3-4 in the conference standing. I don't ever remember them being that good.
Look at this week. The one loss they had this week was an overtime loss to Greensboro
Yeah.
on the road.
And getting the overtime at home against Furman tonight, a pretty talented Furman team. We talked about the IU Indy upset over Oakland. Well, I mean that was a pretty big gap too. But beating their rivals VMI over the weekend, that's the
The Silver
Citadel's never been this
Chaco.
good. They've never been this good.
Yeah, I mean, top of the standings now, Rocco, we got ETSU, Mercer, and Wofford. Furman now falling the game off the pace of those three, even.
Yeah, it's just an unexcusable loss for Furman. As good as
Yeah.
as good as the Citadel story is, you just can't lose that game. You shouldn't be in the same playing field as the Citadel, and that's really bad for them. I love the way Mercer's playing tonight. They finish up with a 12-point win, but it was really like 30, a lot of it. And they've got two guys that are freakish, probably high major players, and I think they're real dangerous because Baraka Okoji is probably the SoCon Player of the Year if you had to vote today. And then what Armani Mighty did last week, gentlemen, was unbelievable. 25 rebound performance for the Canadian. He's been an MVP in 3 of their last 4 games. And again, tonight, I'm just looking at the numbers tonight. He had 20 points and 15 more rebounds.
Jeez.
I mean, just those two guys alone are high level players, high major players, probably. And they've got a couple other pieces in there, and they're just building confidence. And this is a wide open league. So
Yeah.
I know it's still early, but I'm really liking the way Mercer's riding right now.
I'll tell you, Mighty averaging 10.5 rebounds a game, and that's going to go up with that 50 with that performance. That was heading into the day today. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
He's 25, 13, and 15 in the last 3 games
Wow.
in the rebound department. Yeah.
Well, if the Citadel story is going to continue, Griggs, Saturday at ETSU, circle the game.
Okay. Sure.
The game you should really circle those Saturdays, Mercer at Wofford game. Again, all these games,
big
weather
one.
permitting.
Yeah.
Wofford's gaining confidence as well. It's been interesting.
Griggs, over in the Southland Conference, that is not McNeese in first place. That is
Nope.
Stephen F. Austin following another head-scratching loss by the Cowboys, this time to UTRGV.
And they were I mean, they just slept through their alarm. Was it 20 points? Was that how far behind they got before they came back in the second half? And even when they were down 20, it was one of those things. It's like, this isn't really going to happen, is it? And it did. I don't, SFA, or not, excuse me, not SFA, but McNeese. I think they're clearly the most talented team. I think they're clearly looked the best on individual occasions as far as the ceiling that they've played up to at times, but they don't always play up to it. And they certainly didn't in the first half of that game against UTRGV. They were getting smoked.
I
Yeah.
don't know that they are clearly the first best team in the conference anymore, though. SFA, I think they were impressive in their
Freaking
2 road
legit.
wins this week.
They were.
Yeah.
And looking really good. And I might be with you on that. I don't know if their ceiling is as high as McNeese, but they certainly are more consistent than McNeese. And you look at them, that's pretty good.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think Keon Thompson's probably been him and Larry Johnson, the 2 best players in the league. But Keon's older, and I'm very curious. February 2nd, I actually just booked tickets. I'll be down there for that one.
Nice.
Monday night. Should be hopefully the game of the year in the league. The last time they played, it was an awesome game, so that might be the
Yeah.
game of the year. But they went toe to toe in Lake Charles, which is really hard to do. I think they can really get the confidence rolling with a nice home win in probably a good spot. They're going to have Stephen F. Austin starting on Monday next week, 5 straight home games, and McNeese is right in the middle of that. So they can really get on a roll. SFA.
They do have a dangerous game coming up Saturday before that, though. This Lamar team has had
Beaumont.
some life this season,
Beaumont,
and it's a
yeah.
road game. Yeah,
And that's
so
their 3rd straight road game.
It sure
McNeese.
is. Yeah. And I was wondering, did McNeese like cross the border? Because I know UTRGV in Edinburgh is like right on the border. If that maybe they went over there and drank some water and came back not feeling well. That was a weird performance. That was a weird performance.
It was, yeah, and I don't that might be it. I don't know.
Yeah.
They
Too many
sobered
street
up at
tacos.
halftime.
Too many street tacos.
Yeah, and we've
Oh,
all been
gee.
there.
I know. I need to go down to a game there. That's
Yeah.
next.
How about the SWAC, Stalika? We now have a three-way tie between Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, and Jackson State, and I don't think anybody saw those three as being the teams that'd be tied for first at this point of the season.
Yeah, I know Mike Bibby got mentioned as one previous NBA player who's starting to get his coaching spurs. Let's not forget Charlie Ward, who
Hmm.
played his college basketball in Tallahassee across the street of Florida State, but now he's gotten Florida A&M back to the top of the SWAC for the first time in a couple decades.
Yeah, I mean, the story out of this week was that Pine Bluff team that we were hyping just last week.
Oh.
Now on a three-game losing streak, including getting swept by the Florida schools at home this week.
Although I should make one correction though, because last time I think Florida A&M won the MEAC probably would have been 2004. Obviously, they wouldn't have won the SWAC at that time.
Rocco, I look at this league and I cross off Mississippi Valley and I say any other 11 teams could be in the NCAA tournament this year. It would not shock me.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I am very impressed by FAMU. I think Stalika hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
That's the big surprise. Bethune-Cookman was actually picked not by me, but by the media preseason to win the league. Obviously, so many variables with their day-to-day status of Dr. Bradley. When he does play, like they're probably the best team in the league. When he doesn't play, who knows? But Pine Bluff too, like Pine Bluff, even though they lost those games, they were right in there. They're not losing by much. So they're still feisty. Jackson State was supposed to be really good. They're finally starting to show up. They got bludgeoned in non-conference. And Prairie View's been kind of sneaky, but then also they don't show up some nights. And then I think Southern, that was my pick. I still think they've got the staying power. You saw them take Washington to OT in a non-conference game. Yeah, you're right. Like I think there definitely is up to 7 of these teams that could do it.
It'll be a fun conference tournament. You got want to get one of the top 6 seeds and buy into the quarterfinals, by the way. Upcoming this week, want to look at FAMU. They're going to be hosting Alcorn and Jackson State. That's a big one Monday night, Jackson State at FAMU, actually.
Yeah.
I think Jackson State has to play both, right?
Yeah, and Saturday they're at Bethune. So those are the 2 games this week.
Yeah, we'll see where they're at.
And I
after
know we
that.
also talked about Pine Bluff the week before when they were 3-1, but after a pair of tough losses against the Florida schools, now they got to go to Southern and Grambling to try and rebound.
Griggs over in the Summit League, North Dakota State. They get the huge win over this weekend over St. Thomas.
Yeah.
3-point win, and there they are 6-0 sole possession.
Yeah, a really good game, a fun game to watch. North Dakota State did get the win, but St. Thomas still very much in this race. North Dakota State does have to go back there. I still am sticking with the Tommies as my pick, but you got to give your props to North Dakota State. It was a good win. They're 6-0 in the league, having a really good season overall. So yeah, but I'm still on board with the Tommies, and if anything. That's a tough road game to go and win, and they almost did it.
Yeah, but I'm really looking forward to these teams playing not for the second time, but playing for the third time in the conference championship game. Because put these two on a neutral court, it'll be a hell of a game.
Yeah.
Another side note in the league: Marvin Menzies is going to be out at Kansas City after a pair of losses against South Dakota and South Dakota State.
Yeah, I believe he's going to finish the season, though, if I was correct.
He is.
He is?
Yeah, the search is underway, though.
North Dakota State this week is at Denver and at Oral Roberts. The Tommies will be hosting South Dakota State, then going to South Dakota. A few games to look out for there. Another NFL game coming up on Wednesday, Denver at Kansas City.
That's a wild one. Yeah.
But Rocco, over in the Sun Belt, Team Overtime did it again tonight. Troy goes double OT at Old Dominion.
Unbelievable.
How many is that? Seriously, what is the overtime count?
Let's pull them up here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 overtime periods so far this season.
Oh my
I don't know what the
goodness.
record is, but they got to
Yeah.
be closing in on it.
I mean, they gotta be.
Yeah, I mean they've already worn out the term a flair for the dramatic. Now it's just like they wake up and have the dramatic. It's unbelievable. That was actually the first Sun Belt game though that got to the extra session. I would be actually shocked if there's not another one coming. But yeah, I mean it's a road game, so that's a really good effort to continue to stick with it, find a way to get a win on the road. Four of the five have been road games that went to overtimes now on the season. The only home was that weird one where they lost to West Georgia. And they are in command with the Arkansas State win last Saturday with a 7-1 record in the league. I think outside of that, the only other one I wanted to mention, and I'm just trying to double check to see if they won tonight. It's weird. Troy doesn't even play this team, so I got to look them up. But Coastal Carolina last week, yeah, they play Texas State, and I
Uh,
guess it's not final yet.
tomorrow. It's tomorrow. The game is Thursday.
Oh,
Tomorrow.
tomorrow, of
Yep.
course. Yeah, there we go. But yeah, great week for them. Just want to give Coastal a shout out. Came into the week 2-4. They go to Marshall. Most teams don't win there. They win that one. They go to Georgia Southern, the team that was tied for first, and they eked that one out in overtime. A team that they had already played and lost to in overtime as well. This is the league of overtimes, Chad. Um, but shout out to Coastal. They look like they have a pulse, and they're now 4-4 in the league.
Yeah, they do. Keep an eye on this Georgia Southern team also. They did beat Old Dominion, but they are sitting there with the second best record. Upcoming this week, we just mentioned that game Texas State at Coastal coming up tomorrow night here.
Yep.
Troy at Georgia Southern on Saturday. Circle that one. That's a huge one.
I'm
Hopefully,
expecting overtime.
3 or 4 overtimes probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and speaking of weather postponements, even as the weather gets cold, 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 App State will still be hot, hot, hot.
Oh, oh. Buzz,
Uh,
And
Buzz.
they did move. And Appalachian State did move both of their games. So tomorrow's game will be at noon Eastern, and they are moving up the Saturday game with
I think they're playing on
with
Friday,
UL
aren't they?
on Friday at noon Eastern. So
Yeah,
everybody's
back-
playing at noon. If you're a Louisiana school, sorry, UL Monroe will also play Marshall at noon Eastern tomorrow. You got all that straight.
Yep, it'll be back-to-back days for them there with playing Thursday and Friday. So
Tough week for the Warhawks. Very tough week.
Uh, last but not least, among the regular conferences, and we've been talking about upsets, and we just had one go final as we recorded this show. Utah Valley goes to Southern Utah and lays an egg.
Yeah,
Oh.
behind for at least the entire second half, I think, for most of the game. A real disappointing showing from what's been otherwise a really good team.
I saw this red hot Southern Utah team. They just had the surprise win over Tarleton on Thursday, and they followed up with a win over Utah Valley.
Yeah.
As we record this, California Baptist up early on Utah Tech. Actually, they're up by 3 at halftime. We can get that updated here. But Griggs, what do we do with the conference now? Was this just a fluke tonight, or is there
I
cause for
don't know.
concern?
Yeah,
I mean,
I
it's
don't know.
just-
Every time I like someone, I mean, I was really big on Cal Baptist. They have won 3 in a row since starting off 0-3. They might be bouncing back, but I just think that it's a coin toss league. Like anything can happen on any given night. Even Tarleton at 2-5 in the league is a formidable team. I
Is
mean,
that-
The teams that are going to face each other 3 times,
Yeah.
so familiarity is going to breed contempt.
Yeah,
Right. We
Rock,
might see
I
the
just
seventh place-
noticed that last week I think Tarleton was in second place. They're now in last.
yeah.
Yeah, it's going to be fun because with Southern Utah stepping it up and figuring out how to play some defense, that's where they're getting better in the front court area. You just don't know what's going to happen in any given game, and it's going to get crazier because they all play each other 3 times. So you're going to see so many wrenches thrown into the game plans. Tonight was the first night of round 2, and so I love the way the conference did it. They basically, after 6 game days, which was last Saturday, was the 6th game day. Everybody had already played everybody, and they're going to do that again for this round, and they're going to do that again for round 3. So they're doing it in order to where now we know it's everybody's round 2, And I just think the matchups get more and more fascinating. The game plans switch up and adjustments galore. And it's really going to be the true test. It's almost like a professional league type of approach in this format because you're going to just be so familiar with each other. You're really going to have to persevere in different ways than in other leagues.
Yeah, and Saturday, Utah Valley at California Baptist, circle that one. We still think they are probably the best two teams in the conference, talent-wise, even if the results have not quite been there.
And then Texas Arlington's about to get a week off.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a look here at some mythical conferences. The Front Range, Colorado State with a dominating win over Air Force, but still Wyoming winning the league.
Yeah, Wyoming, not winning much else lately, but still on top of the Front Range.
No Front Range games covered this week. And over in the Beehive Conference, well, this is why
Yep.
Southern Utah beat Utah Valley tonight. It was a true conference game. It was a Beehive
Yeah.
game. So
And
now
it
we've
knocked
got
Utah Valley out of first place, and now BYU. Who would have seen that coming? That BYU would be the best team in this league.
BYU and
Utah
Utah's,
State may also have something to say about that.
Yeah.
Utah at BYU Saturday, though. Big, huge game here. BYU must win this if they want to win the conference this season, I think.
Yeah, and the turnaround on this was pretty quick. They just played a few days ago.
Over in the back range, Arizona with the win over Arizona State. They're struggling with Cincinnati right now as we record this, so they're starting to maybe make a bit of a run.
Yeah,
But,
Cincinnati's had a they are on the brink of what could be a historically good week, but probably not.
no back range games this week. Real quick, a couple other conferences. The top range conference up there, we had a lot of action in the top range. And now Gonzaga finally gets their first game in, and now they're tied with Boise for first place.
Yeah, so a good showing by the Zags there.
Both 1-0.
Yep,
Uh,
yeah, and Gonzaga also got a nice non-conference win against Pepperdine.
Yeah, little
Idaho,
bye game action.
Idaho State at Montana State and Montana this week. So
Yeah,
big week for Idaho State. And our most mythical of all our conferences, the Conference of Champions. Arizona also leading this conference. Wow, that's three
Yeah.
conferences they lead now.
yeah, getting a
good team.
battle from Arizona State.
Some big games this week: Cal, Stanford, Oregon, Washington, UCLA, Oregon. So Cal Stanford game. Both teams are undefeated in conference play right now.
Yeah, Oregon, Washington, the pal. They're such good pals. Those two.
Well, let's get to our top 10 list. All four of us voted here under our top 10 list for January 21st. We have a bunch of honorable mentions. First of all, Utah Valley, who probably wouldn't even get that mention after they lost tonight. Troy, Florida Atlantic, Winthrop, Hofstra, UC Irvine. Oh, how about NJIT getting on the list there as the first place team in our feature conference? That's an honorable mention. Thanks to Mr. Stalika. Number 10, UNC Wilmington. Only number 10.
Climbing. Yeah.
At 9, High Point.
Okay.
Number 8,
Still getting votes.
Hawaii.
Yeah, Hawaii.
I did not agree with this, but the rest of you all liked Hawaii up here in the top 10
I liked
list.
Troy more. Like,
Hawaii getting a split on the mainland is actually hard for them.
Yeah.
I didn't want to punish them too much.
Yeah,
Stephen
that's
F.
why they could
Austin.
have been higher. with a pair of
SFA
wins.
coming in number 7. I disagree with this also. I would have had them ranked above McNeese, but unless McNeese is not on this list. But tied for 5th, we have Akron and McNeese.
Akron and
So
McNeese. Yeah.
McNeese did outrank Stephen F. Austin by a whisker here. At number 4, Belmont.
Mhm.
Tie for 2nd between Liberty and Murray State.
Yeah.
There were some adjustments after they lost tonight, so they are still slightly above Belmont. But it was they would have been number 1 had they won this game tonight.
They
Going
would
all
have
in
been.
there.
Yeah.
But our new number 1 this week, back to number 1. They were there earlier this year, I believe.
Yeah.
How about those Yale Bulldogs there out of the Ivy League?
They're good.
Number 1 under the radar team, January 21, 2026. That's it. Let's run to final thoughts. Salika.
I think Belmont is probably going to be one of the beneficiaries of tonight, even though they didn't play, from what I could remember. This is a team that's had a pair of 1-point losses in the Missouri Valley, but with Murray State having the setback of Drake, now the the Bruins are only a game back of first place in the Valley.
Yep. Rocco.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the UIC Flames.
Yes.
Chad, this team has been incredible. We didn't get to them during the Valley, but they've won five in a row, and they've done it against some of the league's best. And so it deserves a lot of praise. The defense has been phenomenal. Now, their last game against Evansville obviously was bottom of the league, but they held them to 49, just continuing to improve the defensive numbers. The wins over Drake, which now looks even better last Saturday. Obviously, a high octane team that just scored 101 against Murray, held them to the mid 60s, held Northern Iowa on the road to barely 60, and in overtime, a very good Illinois State team to under 60. They're getting it done in the middle. Andy Johnson's been a great freshman to lead them in scoring, but then also Abdul Momo, just a phenomenal rim protector, rebounder to go along with a few other pieces. This has been a great story for Rob Eson. They came into league play 4-5, and then started league play 0-4. Now they're suddenly 5-4, and everybody in the Valley looks beatable. And they've actually beaten some of the best of the bunch. So they did play Murray State during their 0-4 start, lost by just four, and during their process of improving. And they will get to go to Murray on February 3rd, which is not too far away. Keep your eye on the Flames. It's been a fun project.
Absolutely. Griggs, you want to finish the show off?
Yeah, a little out of character. I know that in baseball and softball, this is a normal thing. There's never been schedules that ever played out the way that they were laid out. But I realize that with the weather coming up, there's a lot of not really distress, but anxiousness about getting all the games in, and more importantly, getting the teams to and from the locations, and the referees to and from the locations. And if you're going to a game this weekend, or if you're going on the road, just be careful.
Yes, do be careful. If you're anywhere near this weather, and I
Yeah,
do hope that everybody does stay safe through it. If you're going to be
right, 'cause
snowed in like I may be here for the next few days,
it
beginning
sucks
Sunday.
being snowed in. It's worse being snowed out. And one of the things is, like, I know our fans may not do this, but a lot of teams and referees do drive through the night, and I'm just hoping nobody gets stranded out there.
Well, if you are just at home safely snowed in, especially on Sunday, come here. We're going to be doing our bracket rundown show Sunday
We're
night.
doing our bracket rundown.
We'll have a Hoops HD report Monday night. You might still be snowed in. Next Wednesday, if
Yeah.
you're still snowed in, we got problems, but that'll be our next Under the Radar show. But on behalf of David Griggs, John Sleeko, Rocco Miller, follow him for all the snow updates on Twitter. Check him out at bracketeer.org. I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again real soon.